The people who work with that man probably didn't even know he had a closet DJ in his soul. He got weekend work forever. My name is Vanessa German, and I believe in the power of art. I believe in the power of art, and I believe in the power of love. And I don't always distinguish between those two things. That's what I believe in. What do you believe in? Oh, you can answer it. I mean, what would, if your actions and your thoughts and the moments of your life could be distilled in a voice, what would your life say that you believe in? How would your life speak for you? Who said that? I see you, adventure, all right. Who else? Education, all right. How many of you think your life would say that you believe in the power of meetings? Tell the truth, it's okay. It's all right, it's all right. How many of you, your life would say you believe in the power of a really good pair of shoes? It's a true thing, right? Women, you know what I mean. Nothing solves sorrow like a new pair of shoes. So I believe in the power of art. I believe in the power of love, which means I believe in the power of people. I believe in the power of how we are just all here together. We earthling siblings. We gravity-bound, oxygen-breathing creatures of carbon, starshine, and dust. We are all 99 to 99.9% genetically identical. We are kin. On the count of three, I want you to turn to the person next to you and say, hello, relative. 1, 2, 3. Yes. We are all here together. We earthling siblings. I believe that the future belongs to the power of that truth. I believe in the power of art, and I believe in the power of love. And some of you might be up here thinking, well, you know, she's an artist. They said she's an artist. She's a poet. So she's probably an idealist. And I'd say, no, I'm not an idealist. I'm an artist. But ideally, I would like to not ever again have to watch somebody die in the street outside of my house. This is the neighborhood that I live in the United States, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, a little neighborhood called Homewood. Homewood, when the NRA came to Pittsburgh to do their national conference, MSNBC and the Rachel Maddow Show came to my neighborhood and did a 2-part series called Homewood, America's Most Dangerous Neighborhood. That's where I live, a statistically astronomical amount of street death for a really small neighborhood. And that was like 5 or 6 years ago. Of course, so much more happens in my neighborhood than just that. But this is the place that I make art. I call myself a citizen artist. I decided years ago that I wanted to live with enough courage to inhabit as much of my humanity as possible through art and through the power of creativity. I call myself a citizen artist. I make sculptures. I'm a photographer. I do works on paper. And I'm a performer. Look at me. That picture is called Gun with the Wind. So when I say that I believe in the power of art, for me this is a matter of life and death. This is a sculpture called Power Figure to Keep Me Alive. I have seriously attempted suicide 2 times in my life. The last time as an adult, about 17 years ago, I realized that I didn't need a gun, I didn't need to jump off a bridge, I didn't need to take any pills with vodka, that if I really wanted to, I could just will myself to death. And that's what I wanted to do. It wasn't a cry for help. I was so confused about what this world was telling me it meant to be human and to be successfully human. I wanted to die, but at the same time, I was hearing and seeing all these little messages that were like, it was sort of like, it felt to me like hippie bumper stickers that were saying, there's power in art and there's power in love. And I had just listened to Lauryn Hill's Unplugged album where she said she treated, I know, right, great album. She treated her life scientifically. And so I said that I deserve this. I want to see what the power of art is. So for 6 months, I let myself do three things. I would walk my dogs, I would walk them around Homewood, and I would pick up things from vacant lots and from where abandoned houses were, and I would take that stuff home, go down to my moldy Pittsburgh basement, and I would move things around, and I would make these sculptures. I would do really tedious work, like taking one seed bead at a time and covering a face with it, and something happened to me. When I let myself do that, there was this air, this atmosphere of sort of perfection between my physical body, my imagination, and the engineering part of my brain, because I was building structures, and my heart, my soul, that 0.1% of myself and that you all have, that makes me just me, that spark. So in that moment, when I would create, I would be changed. And I had the capacity through that time to attend to like the despair and the depression that I had. And I literally experienced transformation through the creative process. And which is why I say this is a matter of life and death to me. I believe in the power of art, and I believe in the power of love, because I realized I wasn't just making art. I made an environment of love. So I went from making small, discrete power figures to making entire communities of power figures, because I started to think about really at a soulful level, at the place of love. And I define love as creative, understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill. What is it possible for people to actually do with love? Now, when I went from making this small, discrete power figure to making these larger power figures, I had to come out of my Pittsburgh basement, which is all damp and moldy, because I needed more space, and I would make art on my front porch. This is my front porch in Homewood. I live at the intersection where there is a bus stop. So I would make sculptures, and people would lean against my fence, and they would watch me make art. And adults would say things like, "That's scary. That looks like voodoo." And one woman looked at it, she said, "Hey, did I see something like that in Old Magazine? Or was it the New York Times? It was a museum. Are you the girl who makes those?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "And you've been here this whole time?" I live around the corner, and I could see her eyes change. I could see that she was changing what she thought was possible to happen in this place that the Rachel Maddow show called the most dangerous neighborhood in America. I said, "Yeah, I make it here." So kids would watch me. They would watch me make art, and they would look at me and they say, "Why are you so dirty?" And I'd say, "Because I'm an artist and this is what I do." And they would say, "Can I help you?" And I would say, "No, you cannot help me." Because one, I like the kids and everything. But I was that strange black girl who would go around on trash night and pick up the broken chairs. I was that girl. And there was also this word moving around the neighborhood from the grandmothers that the woman that I lived with, because I'm gay, was neither my sister or my cousin, and I didn't go to church. And so I told those kids, "No, you cannot come into my yard." But you know what they would do? They would jump the fence. They would swing on my fence, y'all. You kids, you can't tell a child no if yes is what's in their heart. This child right here swung on the fence, threw herself into the yard, and said, "Oh, Miss Vanessa, I landed by this paintbrush." And she painted that pink spot on my porch. So I took all the little pieces of wood left over, because mind you, I was poor, and that piece of slate she's painting on came from a house that had been demolished. I collected all these old art supplies, and I said, "Here, I'm at work. The reason why the electricity comes on in my house is because I make art. I got to do this job." And I would give them art supplies, and they would say, "What am I supposed to do now with this?" And I would say, "You need to make a decision. So you need to start, you have a favorite color, start with your favorite color. You need to make something for school. I don't know, this isn't a class, it's a workshop. You got to make a decision." And so they would make a decision. I would go to work. They would see their friends get off the school bus, move up the street, say, "Hey, you want to make some art? Go home, put on a smock, come back here." They would come, they'd push art supplies in front of their friends, and their friends would say, "What I'm supposed to do?" The most amazing day at the ARThouse was the day I heard a little girl say, "You need to make a decision." And I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And so kids would come and they would give this talk, and I was like, "This is unbelievable." And there would be about half an hour where it would be quiet. There'd be 15 kids in my front yard and on the front porch, and then just this sense of industry. And I realized that a little bit of what happened to me when I was alone in my studio was happening to them. That I didn't just share art supplies with them, I shared what I loved with them. And love always makes more of itself. So we went from my front porch, and I had to start feeding kids. I'd bring out a snack, and they'd look at me like this. They'd be like, So I started feeding kids, and we went from my front porch to this house. It's a public housing house. They evicted the people. I had the audacity to call the president of that public housing company, say, hey, can we use this house for an art house? And they said no, as though lawyers were surrounding them. They just said, nope. She called me back 4 days later and said, I can't stop thinking about it. You can use the house. And in this photo, you see people from all around Pittsburgh, from beyond Pittsburgh, because 2 days before this sort of freak thing happened where two men were killed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, about 15 minutes apart in houses right next to each other that was totally unrelated. And it was the first time I heard one of my neighbors say, I am afraid to go outside. And so I thought to myself, I'm a girl who says she believes in the power of love. What should I do? And so we held something called a pot love dinner, where I invited people, all 4,000 of our Facebook friends, which the police don't like you to do because people can't park. I invited them over to this little house to share what we loved, and we made a spectacle of our humanness, and we made a spectacle of our creativity, and we made a spectacle of our joy. And I realized, I would hear shootings all the time, and I'd be like, they need to do something about this. But one of the things I live and I recognize is that there is no they. I would say they have to stop the drive-bys. They have to stop all this death. And it sort of dawned on me one day. I was sitting on my porch. If there's something to be done, I must do it. So it was primary election season, and I began to make subversive yard signs. And I thought to myself, if it works, I thought, how can I use love strategically? Maybe somebody will turn left instead of turning right to go shoot up somebody because they'll see this sign and they'll think, my grandma loves me, and she don't want to look at me through 5 inches of plate glass. I thought if it works once, I'm fine with it. And I thought about how the leading cause of death where I live for children ages 10 to 13 is suicide. I thought about all the people who were overdosing. I thought maybe people just need a little bit more love to help their human spark. So I started making signs that say love. Signs that say you are so beautiful. And I moved from that little house that was a public housing house. I bought a house at the end of the corner, and my neighbor said, please don't paint it that neon blue color. But there it is, y'all. Because I knew that I had to make this house so beautiful that it could disrupt the momentum of despair, that it could disrupt the momentum of pain. And I live at the intersection where there's a bus stop, one shard of glass at a time. Everybody who waited for that bus worked on this mosaic. Glass mosaic covers the entire house. This is what the house looks like now. People always, oh, thank you all. Thank you. I will walk out of my house sometimes, and people just stand, and they look at the house. And they take pictures of it. And they say, one guy said, I just got out of jail. And this wasn't here, when I went to jail, but this is so beautiful. And he said, thank you. And I said, you deserve to see beautiful things. So the way the house works is whenever the front door is open, anybody can come in. There's always food. There's a reading room. I built a little stage in the backyard so we could dance, y'all. You got to come through. And a set of bleachers, so that we could have spaces where we center our joy, where we center the power of that human spark, that 0.1% that makes us just us. And I want to tell you all, whether or not you realize it, this is the work that you're doing. You are doing the work of love. You are making spaces for creative, understanding, redemptive, transformative goodwill, where human beings can meet and be human together. And that is truly the work of the future. Everybody say, us beautiful. Us beautiful. Say, us fly. Us fly. Say, us brave. Us brave. I want you to know that I believe in you. I believe in the power of love. And I believe in the work that you all are doing, because you're doing the work of the future. You're making spaces and opportunities where human beings can access and amplify that 0.1% that makes them just them. And it is literally healing, loving work. And I want to thank you.
All right, how do I follow that?